If all there was God, what did he make this place out of?
I have no clue.
So I'm going to ask it again.
Yeah.
That's the normal answer.
Yeah.
That people are not sure. Just say it again, because I already gave it away in the question.
Mm-hmm. God.
Yeah, you got it. If all there was God, so then there is no other possible thing that he made the world out of other than himself. Anything he makes, he is. He can't make something that's not him, because that's not an infinite being. The second that he makes something that's no longer him means he has an end. And that begins. And that's the edge of God. God has an edge. Really.
This episode of Inspiration for the Nation is one of our deepest conversations yet. It's difficult to even summarize, but here's a glimpse. Rabbi Glaser shares his journey from a free-spirited childhood to a path of deep spirituality. Spoiler alert, he wasn't born Hasidish. We dive into profound concepts like reality as a projection of Hashem's consciousness, how free will enable us to align with the divine purpose, and the importance of self-love and shedding the ego to fully experience life, and what Torah teaches us about living in an actual matrix. For real, you might find this conversation heavy, but for those ready to engage, we take it slow and have a few laughs along the way. I'm by no means an expert, but this episode has the potential to transform how you view your life and connection to Hashem. If you start listening, I encourage you to finish. It may be life-changing. In this episode, you'll also hear about Bitbean, custom software solutions beyond your imagination, hiring for less, recruit top talent at unbeatable price, Twillory, the go-to for clothing in every season, and Touro, one of the most impactful decisions you can make in your life. This episode is dedicated in memory of Shimon David ben Yaakov Shleima and Miriam Sarah bas Yaakov Moshe. Here we go. I'm Yaakov Langer, and you're listening to Inspiration for the Nation. Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser, we have a lot to talk about. Probably not enough in this hour or however long we're going to talk, but could you give me a brief background of like how you grew up and how you got to where you are right now?
Sure, yeah. I grew up in Los Angeles, in West LA. And West LA, where I grew up in Brentwood, California, is, it's a kind of a little island, like a little ecosystem. It was like, I don't think we had the keys to our door when we went on 2-week vacation skiing and stuff. There was no crime. You know, the closest pedophile, I think, lived 11 zip codes away. Mm-hmm. You know, it was very interesting. I mean, there was no helicopter parenting yet, where you like know where your kids are. It was like telescopic parenting, where you like your kids somewhere. And we just grew up in this freedom, like a total freedom world. I had kind of I'm an interesting soul that I don't do so good with conventional systems. I'm really a free spirit, and I was born a free spirit. I don't think I wore shoes for the first several years of my life. And
I just want to clarify for people who don't know you didn't grow up Hasidish.
Oh.
Like that little...
Yeah. I learned the Hebrew alphabet when I was 23 years old. I showed up in Israel with 100 of these. I actually have natural pairs. I don't have to make these, which is so cool. So cool, because I would have gone crazy. I don't like dealing with details. I mean, my friends had to convince my housekeepers. Don't ask why I had multiple housekeepers, but I grew up in a mansion, the son of a businessman who made sportswear, surfwear, you know, bathing suits, and my friends had to convince the housekeepers to like change up the t-shirts, because otherwise I'd just wear this, because the things were washed so quickly that by the time I'd put on my shirt the next day, it was the same shirt. My friends told the housekeepers, like, you got to put it at the bottom so he wears a different shirt. I would never even think about it, because I don't like those details. So I have miracle payas here. And but I was a very free spirit, but I was put in school like every other kid. And I was thrown out of class every single day. And it's not nice. Why? It wasn't good. Mm-hmm. I would destroy the teacher's class plan. I don't know what it was. Something inside me said this isn't true. And we're being sold a bill of goods. And, you know, and it started with every morning the Pledge of Allegiance, you know. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And I had an allergic reaction from literally the beginning of every day. And then the teacher was going on to make me an American, which is how you become an American. I mean, how do Mexicans become Americans? It's a Mexican family, but their kids are all Americans. They speak like Americans. They act like Americans. Where'd they get that? Public school. So, you're not an American until you go to public school. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. So I was thrown out of class every day. And in fifth grade, I kind of realized that I think the writing's on the wall here. I'm not going to be going to school anymore. And I left. I left school right there. And my name still stayed in the system. The teacher, my fifth grade teacher, called me sleepy because the days I did come in, I'd been up all night. And I just went, I slept. That's where I slept, And then I started surfing in fifth grade. I was riding waves around the world. I started mountain biking as well. Skateboarding. I was skateboarding in the original skateboard parks with the pools and the half pipes and with the people who developed like real intensive high performance skateboarding, and I wound up basically mountain biking, surfing, and skateboarding, and I also got a guitar and became the lead singer of a band, a lead guitar player of a band, and at 11 years old I was playing high school parties. Crazy high school parties. And we were the band. And I had this high voice, so I could sing all the best rock songs, like the top singers, because my voice hadn't changed yet. And I was doing this for 12 years straight, meaning I was in the ocean 6 to 8 hours a day for 12 years straight. If there were no waves that day, I was in the mountains mountain biking for 4, 5, 6 hours. As a kid, by myself often. Because what other kids joining me for this?
I'm trying to figure out how someone so free-spirited is now living in Israel. Like, it's super Hasidish at this point. Like, how did you get from there to where you are now?
I still mountain bike about 14 hours a week, something like that. I'm out in the forest about 14 hours a week. I still surf. Just surfed last week in Ashdod, and nothing's changed. If anything, I've only added. I've added deep spirituality, like deep meaning and richness, like crazy richness. I have a big family, thank God, lots of grandchildren, and which is really funny because like I would have been voted number one to like never get married or have kids. I thought marrying a Jew was racist when I got to Israel, but yeah, it's just anyway. But that's more or less my background,
right?
My father went bankrupt in my last year living in Santa Barbara, which was just surf town. And he went bankrupt in that last year. And I was I was protesting the Gulf War. I was a hardcore progressive liberal atheist. Protesting the Gulf War. I'm covered in ketchup in the campus, pretending it's blood and interrupting classes with 500 people in it. So I was like, I was intense, and someone got me to Israel. It was my brother Sam, who knew that the only reason he never did it before, because 7 years prior he was in Israel. He never did it before. He said, because I knew if I sent you to Israel, you'd never come back. Boy, was he right. But because of my father's bankruptcy, he knew I needed a free ticket for the next professional tour in surfing, France, Spain, Portugal. Every year was France, Spain, Portugal. I had done the previous year. He knew I wanted to get there. And so that was it. I took the free ticket. I never made it to France, Spain, or Portugal. I mean, I've been back since, but not that year. And this is what happened, more or less.
I want to delve into a specific topic now. And I imagine that this is how you saw your life and how you see life in general. Are we living in the Matrix? Like, people have watched that movie and it's like, cool movie. And then people start to think like, wait, that's fake because that's just in the movie. Is that a real thing?
So it's not the only movie. It was the first. It was that big alternate reality movie that just made everybody think. And it's such an amazing thing, what a blockbuster it was. And the other ones were also, they're not coming to my mind, but there's many of these. Groundhog's Day is kind of on that theme as well, and several other movies. But there's an amazing Rashi on Shema Yisrael, where it says, Shema Yisrael, hear Israel, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You know what Rashi says there? It's so politically correct. It's amazing. Rashi, what's bothering him is that it's so ethnocentric. If Hashem's one, he's one for the Jews, for Israel. He's one for the Gentiles, for the nations. Why is it, listen, Israel, that all there is Hashem and that the rest of this is a matrix? Because that's what Shema is. Our most important statement that we make in our lives as Jews, and it's including the statement we make when we're about to die, including going to sleep at night, because who says you're going to wake up? And in shul several times, and it's meant to be said with everything you got, and it's meant to be said while you can't see anything, because think about it, close your eyes a second, you see all the light, now take your right hand and close it.
Yeah, it's black.
And that black is one, right? Is there two of them or one of them?
No, just
one. And no one ever thinks about this, that nothing is one. Because before there was something, there was nothing. So we'll get deeper into it in a minute, but Rashi, it bothers Rashi that it's Yisrael. What about the rest of the world? Like, they don't get to know this? So Rashi explains that this would freak out the nations. The nations need to think this world's real. They need to, the wall's the wall, the floor is the floor, the sky's the sky, like don't mess with it. However, Rashi says that in the end of days, meaning the end of days is a whole period of time, we're in it. If you didn't notice, we're definitely in some kind of birthing experience ever since COVID. But even before that, I could tell you other details that would see that COVID was really the next level of it. But that we're in a birthing process. And all of a sudden, Hollywood's coming out with movies that this world isn't really real. And the world's eating it up. And people love it.
So you're saying this world is fake?
Well, let's make it real clear. I mean, you can look in the Ramchal and Derech Hashem, where it's just the very first parak, where you start to realize that God and the world can't have absolute existence. They can't have it. One has to make the other, meaning either God's absolutely real and he's projecting us into existence, or we're absolutely real and we're projecting there's a God, which is what the atheists probably believe.
Right.
The materialists, this is real, and human beings project gods for their insecurities of death, for their explanation of things we don't understand in nature, whatever, that we project God. But, the Jewish people are into the tradition that, and physicists obviously, because the physicists believe in the Big Bang Theory, which means there was once nothing, which is really funny. There's a famous academic. You should listen to him online if you can handle it. It's pretty intense. Academics, I'm not even sure it's English, but his name's Terence McKenna, and he makes fun of the scientists, and he says science can explain everything. They just need one miracle, meaning grant us one miracle, meaning that the world came out of absolute nothingness, and we'll explain all the rest, which is science. Science is asking for one miracle because nothing makes nothing. Have you ever heard the 4-second proof of God?
No.
I made it up myself.
Okay.
And it's actually online as 5 seconds, but I got it down to 4. So you ready?
Let's do it.
I have to take a deep breath. Before there was something, there was nothing. And since nothing makes nothing, and now that there's something, it must be that nothing was God.
It's a lot in those 4 seconds. Could you break that?
I'll slow it on.
Yeah.
We'll slow it on down. Before there was something, there was nothing. That's whether you're into the book of Genesis, where it says, in the beginning, which means there was a beginning. God created heaven and earth, meaning created a world, which means before the beginning, there was no world. So whether you're into Genesis or whether you're a big banger, meaning a physicist, There was nothing before this place. And what does nothing make? It makes nothing. If we sealed off this room with nothing in it, but really sealed it, you come back a million years, there's nothing in it. Nothing makes nothing. Yet somehow, out of nothing, is an expanding universe. Where did it come from? Well, it came out of nothing. And that by the way, there's always these other theories which have been completely thrown out now. String theory's gone, multiverse gone. Like this has all been disproven. There was a theory that the world, maybe the expanding universe, is going to contract, and that it just always does that.
An accordion.
Also gone. It was way beyond the critical mass of ever being able to contract, meaning this expanding thing was once not here. It's nuts. It's mamish nuts. It's crazy. And it bothers the scientific community to know. And Richard Dawkins, the biggest atheist in the world, meaning the most outspoken one in England, they asked him, if you had 3 wishes, what would it be? Meaning to know something. He said 3 things. 1, how did the world come out of nothing? 2, how did organic matter come out of the world? Because organic matter is a completely different thing than whatever formed this place, which was gases and stuff. And 3, consciousness, which you have right now as you listen to me. You're a conscious being. You're consciously listening to this. And he said that those are the 3 miracles that we can't explain. And they can't find consciousness in the brain. It's not in MRIs. It's not in brain scans. Organic matter sprung up from the words vayahi, let there be, and then obviously something from nothing. Now let's go back. Before there was something, there was absolutely nothing, and since nothing makes nothing, and now that there's something, an expanding universe, it must be that the nothing was God. I taught this to the MIT PhD physics department, all the PhD students. And 50 men, don't ask, not a lot of women in theoretical physics, but anyway, 50 men. The only one guy raised his hand after I gave the 4-second proof. And he says, Rabbi, it's a little presumptuous to call, nothing God. And I said to the physicist, tell me, what is the definition of God? And then he kind of thought for a second. He says, I got it. And then I looked at him and I said, listen, if you could create something from nothing, which, by the way, the theoretical physicists have spent millions of your tax-paying dollars to create a machine that could somehow make something from nothing. They're desperate. Every large university has a department called theoretical physics, which our tax-paying dollars go to. What is their job? We can't have this world come out of nothing. We got to figure out what that nothing is. And so they sit and stare at their belly buttons and theorize. You know what I call them? I call them the high priests of the secular world. For example, Christianity has priests. So they're the ones who are supposed to know about Christianity, right? So if you're a Christian, you don't have to know anything. You got the priests. So you just live your life, live your life. You get to go to church on Sunday, and go back to your life right after church. But you got a priest who knows what's going on, and above him's a pope somewhere. So they're the high priests of the secular world. The reason why we're paying millions of tax-paying dollars to every large university for their theoretical physics department is because not just they can't deal with it, the entire secular atheist planet and culture we're in can't have the world come out of nothing. And so they just say, well, we don't know what it is. But Occam's razor, Occam's razor in philosophy?
No.
Occam's razor means that the simplest explanation is probably the right one. It's a real philosophical thing. Occam's razor. It's good to know. Occam's razor is that the simplest explanation is usually the right one. Well, how about that the nothing is a being, not a being of space and time, doesn't take place in space and time, but it certainly knows what it's doing. Why? because the propensity of nothing would be to stay nothing. Why would nothing ever become something? It stays nothing.
Right.
Forever and ever and ever, even though there's no time. But nothing would ever make anything. Here we see that whenever there's nothing in it, has an intention, because it creates something. And what does it create? An expanding universe with our solar system, and who knows if there's others, and a planet full of people. And then what does he do? He takes from whatever his consciousness is. And I'm only calling it a he because it's causal in certainly in mysticism, but in common sense is the causal is called masculine and the receiving is the feminine. So, which is really funny because when our wives like nurture us by like serving us dinner, they're in causal mode, which is so funny. They're in causal and we're receiving. So we're really in the feminine when we're being, served a bowl of soup from our wife. And so it's very interesting that
I remember in Aish, this is literally like 10, 11 years ago, you explaining it like so simple, like think of a nail and a hole, right? And the nail is the one that's giving and the hole is the one receiving. And you see that in male and female, like physically it's like that. And that's that nature of male is the giving. And that's why you're explaining God to be he and obviously he has components of she because
sure.
God is everything or nothing, however you want to explain it.
Right. And the crazy thing is that you can't look at anything that doesn't have this.
What do you mean? Are you saying everything in the world is...
Think about the mic stand here. I mean, we got screws here. Those are going in. Obviously, they're going into a hole. We got this frame. It's holding the mic. Mm-hmm. All these are screwed in.
Right.
You can't look at anything. The light bulbs, the walls, the doorways, the handles, the...
Cars, houses.
There's nothing but that.
And nature also.
Yeah. And the thing that goes in is in Kabbalah called Chesed, and the thing it goes into is called Gevurah.
And that's why...
So the thing in here is water. That's Chesed, that's flow. And the cup is the structure that receives it. And now my lips are structure. And my mouth, and it's like, it really gets pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. And the whole world's built this way, including male and female. On the subject of mashpi and makabel, meaning of causal and receiving, we call God in the feminine whenever we're giving thanks. Modim anachnu lach. Lach's female.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? When we give thanks, we call God the feminine. Because we're saying, please receive my gratitude. So suddenly it goes female from Modim anachnu lach. We do it once in benching. We do it in Shmoneh Esrei. We call him her when we're in giving mode.
I remember you one time explained that we're somehow like God's thought process or his like thinking, like you explained this a little before, projecting. Could you delve into like?
Yeah, so let's go. That's where we should be anyway.
Okay.
So this being has intention, and clearly because it tended to make a world that wouldn't have happened otherwise, and it has incredible ability. By the Goyim, by Gentiles, they see God as what answers everything they don't understand about science. And then everything they understand about science pushes God out a little more. You understand? Until they finally, the scientific revolution and the, industrial revolution, and then immediately the Enlightenment, which means we don't need God at all. And they get out from the thumb of the church. That was the Haskalah in Judaism, away from Judaism. The approach of science to the Jews is just to show us the efficacy of God. The efficacy means the perfection, that the sun winds up every 27 years in a certain spot on the sky that it literally was 5,784 years ago. It's in the same position every 27 years. In science, we've known that because we know a lot, from our tradition. And, NASA spent $5 million to find out the lunar calendar, the lunar cycle. And it was to multiple decimal points. And one of the people on the team of NASA saw the number and said it's a little off from Judaism, meaning what we've been saying for thousands of years, and they rechecked it, and we were right. It was actually what we had been saying was lunar cycle. And isn't it interesting that the word for year, Shana, in a lunar calendar, Shin Nun Hey, is 355. Shana, 355. I mean, obviously it's got decimal points for the exact thing, but it's 355 days. And the word Shemesh, sun, for the lunar calendar, is Shin, which is carbon in Kabbalah. Mem is hydrogen. And Shin, Shemesh. What's the sun? It's a burning ball of hydrogen. It's hydrogen engulfed in flame. And there are how many commandments that we're told not to do?
Oh, I don't know, 250.
No, not to do.
Oh, the three, then three, I don't know.
365.
365, oh.
You know why? Because the influence of the zodiac has nothing to do with Jewish people. We have no mazel. We have no zodiac influence. We're on direct drive. Now, little caveat is you do have to be in Israel for this, but because this all has to do with heavenly bodies and location and stuff. But the Jewish people have no constellation influencing them, meaning your horoscope is irrelevant. And the truth is that if you keep the 365, you ready for this? Even outside of Israel, if you guard yourself from those 365, which happen to break down to 30,000 laws, but if you avoid those 365, you are outside zodiac influence. Your horoscope is meaningless. Meaning, people read their horoscope, whether they should go out that day,
right,
or whether they should make a business deal.
I want you to delve into that. I know we're covering a lot, and there's literally you could spend 5 hours on just the 2 sentences you're saying to break down. But for the zodiac, that there's the ones that you read in like the daily news, and it has like a zodiac there. How does the Torah describe the real zodiac?
So that is real. The horoscope is real. It's not exactly accurate, meaning the one that's showing up in the newspaper is not like something you'd find in like the top spiritual people of India, and certainly not what the Kabbalistic people would tell you. But here's the amazing thing, is that if someone's not careful with like precision and accuracy with their observance of the 365, and just one mitzvah, they just blow. The influence of the zodiac comes in, not just in, meaning it's always having a big influence on Gentiles, on the nations, but it comes in like with a force for that Jew. It's
like a boat that has like a hole in it, and if the water just flows in. I don't know if that makes sense.
You could say it like that, but the main thing is like it's worth it to be really careful. I mean, if someone came up to me and says, "Listen, I've heard there's 248 positive commandments, 365 negative commandments. Which one? I'm only going to keep one," meaning one side, the positive and negative. Which one should I keep? So I would tell them for sure the "thou shall not." And just as a side, what's funny about it is it's so un-American to tell someone what they can't do. It's like there's a very libertarian country where everyone just wants to be able to do whatever they want. So what the funny thing is, people don't realize that by refraining from doing something, like right now you're refraining from speaking, which enables me to speak, and then I'll refrain, and then you're able to speak. And if someone's going to a theater, turn your cell phone off. If you're speaking to a friend, get your cell phone out of this situation. It's refraining that creates conditions. And so, the holiest day of the whole entire year is Shabbat. It comes every week. But think about it, thousands of laws of what not to do, just so you can have what happens every Shabbos, which is, a lot of things I'm not going to talk about right now, but let's go back to the Matrix.
Sure.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Let's do it.
If all there was God, what did he make this place out of? What's this made of?
I have no clue. Cheese. No.
So I'm going to ask it again.
Yeah.
That's the normal answer.
Yeah.
That people are not sure. Just say it again because I already gave it away in the question.
Mm-hmm. God.
Yeah, you got it. If all there was God, so then there is no other possible thing that he made the world out of other than himself. Anything he makes, he is. He can't make something that's not him because that's not an infinite being. The second that he makes something that's no longer him means he has an end. And that begins. And that's the edge of God. God has an edge, really. And that's the other beautiful thing, and that's very unique to Judaism is that God doesn't have a definition either. We spoke a bit about that earlier. It's like it's just this being that can make something from nothing, but it doesn't have a definition. Because if it has, what is a definition? You know, a cup's not a table. It gives edge to the thing to define it. Whereas God is all there is. And so into the matrix we go.
We'll be right back to my conversation with Rabbi Yom Tov, and we have a lot more to get into. But first, Twillory guys, let me tell you, this brand has changed my entire fall wardrobe. Their outwear is insane. You know when you want to step out and not freeze, but still look good? That's exactly what their fall jackets do. It's funny to have this conversation during the Matrix. Okay, they're warm, stylish, and seriously comfortable, and their vests, which I'm wearing right now, are wow. These are not just for show. They're perfect for layering, super functional, and keep you at the perfect temperature, whether you're out for a walk or running an errand. And I'm all about quality. Twillory gets that right every single time. Their stuff lasts. You know I'm obsessed with their brand already, and you know I'm even more into their fall collection. So go to Twillory.com and grab yourself something amazing. My listeners get $18 off your first order, so trust me, you'll love that. So use the code word INSPIRE at Twillory.com for $18 off. Get ready for fall. It is here. Now, I think it's very apropos to talk about your future. And if I'm honest, one of my biggest regrets is not attending a school as exceptional as Touro University's Lander College for Men. My brother Ellie did, and I saw firsthand how transformative it was for his career. Lander College for Men offers a dual curriculum that's rare to find. It combines rigorous Torah study with top-tier academics, so you don't have to choose between your learning and a future career. The academic options are extensive, with over 20 major and pre-professional tracks, including computer science, finance, pre-med, and political science. There's something for everyone. Plus, Lander offers an incredible medical honors pathway, partnering with New York Medical College, NYMC, to give future doctors a streamlined path to medical school. My friend Avi went there. New this year is a dental honors pathway in partnership with Touro College of Dental Medicine. High-achieving students who know from the time they're in high school that they want to become a doctor or dentist may be eligible for this direct pathway to medical or dental school. Another thing that sets Touro apart is their support system. They provide academic advising, tutoring, career services, mentoring, and access to a vast alumni network to help students land internships and jobs. Their graduates consistently get accepted into top-tier graduate and professional programs, and many are currently working at Fortune 500 companies and major national firms. If you or someone you know is thinking about the next steps post-Israel, come to Lander to see the campus and meet the dean, faculty, rebbeim, and students at the open house on Sunday, November 10th at 12:45 p.m. You can visit lcm.touro.edu/openhouse for more info to register. Your future could start at Touro. Do you find people start to freak out when you go with this? Because they're like, wait, I'm not real?
I find they freak out. I find they get excited. And this is an amazing way to discover if someone's schizophrenic, because then they really freak out. And, but I mean, what's the population of those people? But I could tell you that while teaching these classes, this was kind of my main job at Aish HaTorah for 30 years of, every single day was teaching the details of it all. And there was always once a year at least, someone who just went full, what do they call that? Jerusalem syndrome, apocalyptic, it's all God, because it's only a matter of time before he's God, obviously, and we're just I don't think so, I don't think you're God, bro. First buy a kippah, we'll start talking about whether you're God or not. But he's right. It's not wrong.
Because I could see like two emotional reactions to this. Like one way it's very liberating because like, okay, like you could breathe, like it's all good. Like it's not, stops taking everything so seriously. Like it's okay. But then on the flip side, it's like I only exist because I exist because I think I exist. So like, wait, I don't like, and you start going to like what was before and after, and like it's scary.
Yeah, it's trippy and really trippy. My Rebbe has a mushal that's really sweet where there was a kid who every time he came home from school, he'd ride his bicycle to this old lady's house and she would have always piping hot chocolate chip cookies. Anyway, but she got a little old, so he went there one day and she's like, my hands can't do the dough. I can't do the dough. And so he went home crying and his mother's like, oh, I have a solution. She sends him with already balls of chocolate chip cookie dough and sends him over the fence, takes it out of the bag, puts it on their tray and on the cookie tray. And she's this old lady, she finds it, she's immediately put it in the oven. And the boy comes to the door. She's just so happy she can give him back his chocolate chip cookies. And he's so happy he gets to receive them from this old grandma. And that's how it went on, Now, that's a very interesting story because he's giving himself chocolate chip cookies. You getting it?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? And now it like totally transforms your idea of prayer. Because all you're doing is aligning with why he did this. But he gave you free will. And that's the main ingredient. He gave you free will. You can skip the prayer or you can do it. You can, like every one of us was born with a hook in our mouth. And now we're swimming on the sea. Some people are trying to swim as far away from the fisherman's boat as possible. God, the fisherman, let's call him. And you can swim as far as you want. He's relaxed. He's like, don't worry. I'll reel you in when you die. Everyone's going to get reeled in. But you can also be the kind of fish that hangs around the boat. And, we're all tied in here. We're all tied in. And I'll tell you, take another step deeper. Is, right now we're indoors. And you're going to think when you go out of this building that you're outdoors. You've never been outdoors.
What's outdoors?
It's all within him. It's all within the mind of God.
Are you saying there's not, it's physically, or everything impossible out that doesn't exist? No?
What's that?
Anything outside of real outdoors doesn't exist.
Well, it exists within his greater mind. We're all you've never been outdoors. Right. None of us have ever been outdoors. We've never been indoors. I mean, we're always indoors. We're always within him. This is why, I hate to take it straight to this, but I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, go.
This is why when husbands and wives are sharing love with each other, there's a Kabbalistic little trick to share that love with each other in the pitch black. Because you're in Shema now. What is Shema if not to close your eyes and be in that oneness? And it's very interesting because are you giving or receiving? Oh, both. Both. It's I'm in both modes right now. And I'm in the oneness. I'm in the oneness because that's all there is. You're married to God. And so now you start refining your character because, hey, if I'm part of this, if I'm part of the divine, so then, whoa, I've got some stuff to work out, don't I? And so he gave each one of us two voices, a voice towards the matrix, towards physical, and a voice towards him. Which is why every person was born with this, just the scourge of humanity, which Hitler called the stain or whatever he used as, which was consciousness. He said that's in Mein Kampf, he said that's a Jewish invention, conscience. He thought if he eradicated the Jews, he could eradicate the scourge of humanity, which is conscience, meaning feeling bad about behavior. It's the weirdest thing. Like, everyone's got it. I mean, people have different criteria of what they consider wrong. But isn't it interesting that you have a voice in your head that goes against you? It makes no sense. A tiger doesn't have a voice that goes against him. He has his instincts. He does his thing. You actually have a voice that you don't like. And it don't like you, when you're ignoring it. But we were given a godly voice, and we were given an animal voice, and then we're back to the chocolate chip cookies. Is that when I'm doing it, so let's go back. Before there was something, there was nothing, and God created the world out of that nothing. This world is a digital simulation of godliness. And there's a term for that in Kabbalah. It's called Elokus. It comes from the word Elokim. We use a K because we're careful with God's names, but it's really Him. And tell me, what's a Yud and Mem at the end of a word?
Yum.
That's what it spells.
Oh, yeah.
Which I like that word.
Oh, what is like grammatically? What is that?
Like Yeled Yeladim.
Oh, plural.
Plural. You ever thought about the fact that we have a plural name of God as monotheist? Make up your minds.
Right.
The reason we have a plural name of God is because God isn't just this being outside of space and time, which would be obviously singular, but He has created the world of Himself, and all of this is made of Elokus, or the plurality of protons, neutrons, electrons, wood, stone, flesh. It's the world's made of multiplicity, and the name of God, we have names of God for the multiplicity, which is Elokim or Elokeinu. The state of godliness is called Elokus. And it's in every blessing. Baruch atah Hashem. Blessed is He, Hashem, which is surrounding. That's the God of oneness outside space and time. Elokeinu, filling space and time. He's not just the tortilla. He's the rice and beans and the salsa. And so we're always using that, even in Shema Yisrael. Hashem, that which surrounds. Elokeinu is what fills. Hashem, that which surrounds. Echad, it's all one. There's nothing else. Ata haresa ladas. You were shown, haresa, like to be. You were shown, or you have been taught to know. You've been shown to know. Ladat. Ki, what? Hashem, that which surrounds. Hu ha Elokim, is what fills. What's the next three words?
Oh, don't ask me.
Ein od milvado. That's where Ein od milvado comes from. This is the craziest, it's got to be everyone's favorite pasuk. You've been shown to know. This has to do with Har Sinai. We say it when we're taking out the Torah.
Right.
We're taking out the Torah Shabbos day, and we say, at least the Chassidim say, we all say it on Simchas Torah. Ata hares ladas. You have been shown to know. We were shown this. Ki, how were we shown this? At Mount Sinai, we had an OmniMax THX surround sound OmniMax 3D LSD blow-away experience to see through the matrix, to see the Elokus while embodied. You can't see the Elokus and still be normal. You'd never be the same. I mean, if you and I were shown the Elokus right now,
our brains would blow up.
We would blow up. We'd be done. I'd be pouring this water on my forehead. I mean, I just finding my mouth would be a whole new thing. It would take me rehab for 3 years. I wouldn't know who I was. Well, I wouldn't know who I was. I still don't know who I am. We'll talk about that later. But and it's explained by Kabbalists why babies who come from the Elokus, meaning they're coming from the vibrations that we're about to talk about, but they're coming from there. And so no talking for a little while and no mental ability to really just be. Just be for a few years until you can develop vocabulary, until you can start learning the Torah that you were taught, meaning the vibrations and the secrets you were taught before you came down here. And notice that you spent the first 9 months of your life in the undifferentiated oneness of your mother's womb. And that's really interesting, because before there was something, there was nothing. Well, what was that? Undifferentiated oneness. God existed in undifferentiated oneness. He created an other, so to speak, like separate. And yet every human being spent 9 months in totally conscious in the undifferentiated oneness of their mother's womb. And then was born separate. And what is every human being seeking? Every single human being on this planet is seeking oneness. They're seeking to come back. Some get it through sports. Some get it through sports cars. Some get it through attention, which is the counterfeit of it. It's the feeling like, oh, wow, everyone's watching me. I must be really part of it all. But the ultimate vibration is, as I spoke about before, is the love between a man and his wife. That's the ultimate vibration that comes from the mother's womb. And that's why it says that when Isaac married Rivka, it's strangest pasuk, strangest sentence in the Torah. It says, he brought her into Sarah's tent. He lost his mother, Sarah. Isaac brought Rivka into Sarah's tent and was consoled over the death of his mother. That was their marriage night, meaning that's when they consummated their marriage. So we're all just seeking the oneness from our birth, which is, and why did God do that? Because that's all there is the oneness. But yet we're in a world of multiplicity, seeking the oneness. But let's go vibrations. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just like thinking. I'm like, should we? It's. There's so much to unpack here. Go. You do your thing. I'm enjoying very much so.
Okay, I'm also enjoying.
Good. I hope the people watching and listening are enjoying too.
Well, since you're watching this, I will tell you that you have more than any of the departments of any university's studies. Meaning, I don't know how many departments the university has, but let's say, 40 different disciplines. And each one has their professors and their PhD departments. You have more than that. You know why?
Why is that?
Well, because we're sitting here, and if we asked a chemist what he sees, he would tell you the chemistry of all this. And if a physicist, he'd tell you that. If you asked a biologist, he would tell you what was going on biologically, because there's wood and there's wool and there's humans. And the engineer would tell you his view of all this. Everyone would have their view. None of it would come anywhere close to your own experience. Experience is where it's at. It's a really interesting thing that people never think about, but you're like your own, the primacy meaning primary, the first, the most important is the primary. What's primary in the world? There's a prime minister is the most important person in that country as far as, position. The primacy of experience is everything. Your own experience is I don't think that science, meaning psychology, could ever explain scientifically what's happening with your own experience while walking down a street. And it covers more than all 40 disciplines that a university's departments are. Primacy of experience, yeah, here, right now. So I'm fully in it. When I got in the car of the person who brought me here from Brooklyn, I get in the car and I'm like, I'm so excited. And he's like, yeah, it's exciting. You're going to be on Yaakov Linger's podcast. And I was like, I'm also excited about that. He says, what were you talking about? I was like, well, I'm excited to drive with you. And just as we said this girl walks up, like a Hasidic girl walks up. And she says, Rabbi Glaser, I know a lot of people bother you. And I was like, just turned around. I was like, whoa. And I said, well, I'm excited to hear too. Like, she says, I was on my LL flight and you were on the video and you taught about a specific thing and it just changed me. I'm getting married in 2 weeks and it's made a big difference in my life. And that was magical. And the car ride was magical. And this is magical. Because once we could do a whole podcast on this because this is the real juice of life, is once you start to turn on your ignition of experience of life, you're never, ever, ever going to be bored again. I mean, you're just in the experience of whatever's happening around you in full surround sound, in full, like, greatest cameras. I mean, I don't know how much your cameras cost, but their quality would be judged by the 2 cameras in our heads. We already got those cameras. I mean, this is crazy. And then taste. I've been like enjoying this mineral water immensely. Every sip is being very focused on. I hear the clarinet player play a solo at the wedding, every single solo, while listening to the guy I'm schmoozing with at the table and tasting the food.
So we were discussing like what to talk about, and I know that there's a lot of like 300 topics we could talk about. So I want to pivot in a certain way, but I know how related it is. But like talking about, we were discussing on the phone, the secret to life.
Secret to life.
The secret to life, about the lack of identity.
Oh, that's secret to life.
That's it. I'm sure there's a few of the secrets to life.
I'm like, which secret is he referring to? Yeah, so let's go there. So we spoke a lot about the world coming out of nothing. And we also mentioned that consciousness comes out of nothing as well. And you as a conscious being, if you focus in on that consciousness, and we all got it, like everyone take a moment, like you take a moment. Are you aware that you're aware of being here right now? Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that.
Yeah. And you also have thoughts. Like think about this table for a sec and come back to your awareness of being aware.
Right.
Are you the thought of the table or are you your awareness? Which one are you? You can't be the table.
I guess my awareness.
Yeah, your awareness, and you can have a thought of the table. You're not a table.
Right.
And
it's me thinking of it.
When I got to Long Island, suddenly there was an influx of seagulls. I'm always noticing what's flying. So suddenly it was many more seagulls than there are in Borough Park. Borough Park's also near the sea, but there were more seagulls. So I knew I was getting close. And I lived my whole life outdoors. Have you ever thought about that? Shepherds, our 7 shepherds, Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David, they spent their time in the wilderness and got prophecy. Why do you think I know all this stuff? I was in the ocean all day. When I'd come in, I would go straight into the mountains since I was 11 years old until I was 23, and I haven't stopped. I spend my time in town in Torah, and I finally got the goods of what it is I had discovered. I finally found out what I had discovered as a kid. But let's go back to consciousness. You can't define it. What is it, this awareness of yours? Who is that? And you want to tell me your name? You're not your name. If I put you in an MRI, it wouldn't say like Yaakov down the screen. It wouldn't say that. And if I put you in an MRI and saw your body, you'd be like, well, that's my body. But when my body shuts down at night, I seem to be off to all kinds of places. Like I'm off traveling, which is what we do when we sleep, is we travel. Isn't that interesting? So you're certainly not the body. So now who are you? Are you the guy who goes in gray?
Twillery, the clothing brand. They advertise a lot, so we like to give them a shout out.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out. Like I'm my thoughts, but also
We were definitely not your thoughts. That we already established.
No, I'm saying like I'm a mixture of all these things.
Well, yeah. Your persona or ego becomes a mixture of all those things.
So what is a person?
You're not your ego.
Who is a person? Who? There's got to be something. There's a difference between you and me, I think. And there's a connection.
There's levels of difference, but there's much more similarities. I mean, you have your story of your life and I have mine. So we definitely are experiencing things differently. But when we go deeper, we're not.
So
take a moment. Don't speak
okay.
for a second. Keep looking at me.
You know why? Because usually podcasts, it's not much thinking. It's usually talking. So I'll think. I should look at you, you said, or I shouldn't look at you?
Look at me.
Look at you. What's the question? Who is the person? That's the question?
You had said that, clearly you're you and I'm me.
Right.
And I said, yeah, we do. You have your story, your life, I have my story, life. We have the way we're looking at things based on the past. But are we really that different on the true consciousness? And then I say to you, look at me and sense consciousness. Is there any difference between you and me right now? It's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's like
go with it.
No, but it's also hard because like there's so many like I gotta focus. My brother always says I have ADHD, and I'm like maybe he's right now, but let me think.
Don't think. It's when you stop thinking because your thoughts aren't you.
So what do I do? Just be. Just
all right.
Like I'm getting like.
Be's a good word.
Just be.
Yeah. Be and see if there's something so different about your being and my being. And you'll start to realize there really isn't.
Right.
Which is why people are so attracted to me. Because I just only see this nuclear power plant that you are, If I attach jumper cables to your earlobes, we could power all of New York State with this being. Because it's not this persona ego thing that wears this and drives that and grew up like that and had to get embarrassed in that class and created a personality to compensate for that, and which is all like the possible you work, where you finally clean out stupid stories that have been masking your consciousness. So when you get here where you're going now, and I'm taking you there, is what I do is I'm taking you there too, take a moment and feel the energy in your heart. I don't care if you got no sleep last night, you're going to feel energy right now. And you'll never see me tired. You'll see me maybe physically tired at the end of the day, but you'll never see me tired.
We are getting to the crux of the episode and we'll be right back. But first, business owners, listen up. If you're still using the same old systems, you're leaving serious growth on the table. Companies that innovate with tech are dominating industries, and rebbeim is the secret weapon behind it. For example, look at Walmart. When they invested in AI-powered supply chain technology, it cut their delivery times and boosted efficiency across the board, making them even more competitive. And I get it, AI can scare you, but you probably are getting scared because you're like me. You don't really know how to use it well enough. But you know who does? Yup, you guessed it. When it comes to transformation, rebbeim brings to the table tailored solutions that eliminate bottlenecks and drive real results. rebbeim has helped businesses across real estate, healthcare, and all businesses really level up their operations. You want that kind of growth for your company? Go to rebbeim.com and see how they can custom build the tech that takes you from good to unstoppable. Oh, you want a bonus? They're really, really easy to work with. Best software, best people, best product. rebbeim. Oh my gosh. Can we trademark that? I have to send that to the rebbeim Chevra. Now, before we dive back in, business owners, I know you're still here, and I have another delicious offer for you. Did you know that local hiring can be expensive? Of course you do. With hourly rates ranging from $20 to $50. And on top of that, finding a qualified candidate who's always available right away can be a real challenge. But what if there was a better, more affordable way? So many of you reached out to say thank you for introducing you to Hiring for Less, this smarter choice for hiring full-time remote employees for overseas for just $7 an hour or $280 a week. Picture this, an employee working 9 to 5 in your time zone with excellent English skills and the exact experience you're looking for. Hiring for Less is not only affordable, but they've also helped employers find remote professionals for a variety of roles, including customer service, real estate, bookkeeping, data entry, cold calling, photo and video editing, architectural design, e-com support, personal assistance, and more specialized roles. What sets Hiring for Less apart is that they don't just match you with talent. They also provide guidance and training and communication to ensure your remote hire smoothly integrates with your team. I know you're thinking, but no long-term contracts, no hidden fees, no upfront costs, and no recruitment fees. Just tell them what you need and they'll find you a skilled professional for only $7 an hour. Mention Living L'Chaim and you'll get 50% off your first week. Call, text, or WhatsApp 845-682-0990 or visit hiringforless.com today. That's hiring with the number 4, less.com. And now back to my conversation. Is this like what meditation or like the real davening really is, of like just being and getting to the core of you so you could bring in everything else?
Yeah. Before our generation, it would require, 12 years in India. Now it's just, bam. I can take anyone there in 1 second. I could take a whole group of people there just by focusing my energy, and I'll just take them there.
So someone who wants to, by themselves, like, take away this, because I'm going to walk out of here and then, we just strip down a lot, but like I'm going to walk out and then I'm going to be me and I'm going to be a father and a child and, I'm going to a podcaster and like get back into these layers. Like, how does someone constantly remind themselves about those are just layers? Like, it doesn't matter as much.
Love them. Love
the layers?
Yeah, your car seat comfortable?
Yeah.
Got a stereo?
Yeah.
Crank the music, man.
Mm. You're saying take in all the, meaning, because it's a little oxymoronic, because it's like one level is like forget everything and be, and then it's like, okay, everything around you, bring it in.
Your body's been lined with nerve endings. Your tongue for taste. You ever had a hazy IPA? Craft beer? A hazy?
Oh, I'm not a beer guy.
Yeah, so what happens at my Shabbos table, after Kiddush, we have a beer course. Mm-hmm. Before washing, because I have sons-in-laws and people making Kiddush all over the place. So we have a beer course. I break out many craft beers. And then what we do is I pour a little sip into each cup and I send them around. And I do it in the order of the hops, how hoppy the beer is, because the hops are the bitterness of the beer. And so you don't want to start with a bitter one because you won't be able to taste the next one. So it goes in order of building up the hoppiness of the beer. And you're thinking like, is this the same guy who just told me that nothing matters? You understand?
Yeah.
I don't just play guitars, okay? I play guitars that are nice guitars. My bike is an exotic bike. My bike doesn't exist. Meaning if I'm going down like very technical downhill trails. I'm in full body armor. I've got very technical jazz fusion playing in my ears at full volume. And I'm riding this like 180 millimeter suspension sled down these trails in the Jerusalem forests and all over Israel. I need to have a bike that's so high quality. I mean, we're talking, I'm not even going to tell you what this bike costs because people are driving cars that cost less. It's in order that it's not there because all there is my consciousnly. But and a lot of the guys at the table are like, no, I don't want a beer. I'm not a beer guy. And I'm like, taste this. The guy tastes it. He's like, what is this? I've never had anything like this. And then I'm like, taste this. Taste this. And he's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Beer is how we know God loves us. It's a family tradition. But when that beer hits your palate, it explodes. Those kind of beers. It explodes. Incredible floral colors for the palate. And when the eye sees and when the ears hear, and notice that the covenant between God and the Jewish people, where he signed his seal on the males, a lot of nerve endings down there. And all he's saying with all of this, with your touch, with your taste, with your sound, with your sight, and with your becoming one with your spouse is I love you. You're just being told I love you in every single moment. Feel your clothing right now. Just feel the fibers on your skin. No, I'm saying covering you.
Oh, yeah.
And feel the air on your face and the chairs supporting you. Nice solid chairs you got. The beauty of this table. And it's overwhelming. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. And we're in a room, in the studio. Let's go out to the Hairy Man Park. I call it Hairy Man, named after the Hasidim in the country. But let's go out there and really freak out. So consciousness and the primacy of experience, because they go together. Because once you get conscious, all of a sudden you get experiential. But we don't know who we are. So let's go back to that. We don't know who we are. And now, on the one hand, you might say, oh, that's scary. Like what about my ego? Like, what about... It's your ego that's really messing you up. Losing it and not knowing who you are is where all the magic is, as we've just been doing. The ego's the hassle. The ego's like, that guy just dented my ego. It was your car, but it's your ego. That parking ticket messed me up, I'm guessing that the guy just forgot to invite me to his kiddush. I'm hoping, I hope I'm still relevant in my field or community, or that's what's ruining our life. The ego that everyone's so desperately white-knuckled. And I'll tell you something interesting. Think about this logically. It's a proof. Why is everyone so dramatic and traumatized in relationships that maybe someone forgot them, or, they didn't really consider me, especially women will go big on this. Men do it too, but women are freak, Why are they so sensitive? And the answer is because deep down, we know that it's not real. We're all holding on to a self-image that carries no water. It's nothing. It's fluff. It's just what happens when you take a 3-year-old and who's now finally self-aware, and then he builds a way of seeing the world over his lifetime, and which includes, back to possibly you, includes all the boo-boos, which he now covers up with the whole copy-paste personality from the people he saw around him, so that they would somehow like him, which of course they don't like him, because it's not him they like, it's what he copy-pasted, which is the root of loneliness. The root of our loneliness, everyone's so lonely. Even the most popular person in the world is lonely. Who's the most popular person? The person who is best at copy-pasting the most, to get the most likes, so to speak, in his interaction with people. But it's not him they like. He wouldn't even know who he is, that popular guy, because they're the most out of touch with who they actually are. But the bottom line is, the reason why our wives and our, not my wife, but wives, well, sometimes my wife, and sometimes even me, we all fall into it. You'll fall into it. And I do too. Why didn't they invite me to that Shabbaton as one of the speakers? We can all fall in there, and I do fall in. But the fact that we're so sensitive, why would we be so sensitive if it was real, the ego? We know it's not real. You get that? You have what I'm saying? It's a subtle point.
Right.
Can you
and we're when we get upset, it's a reminder to us that it's not real, and
Well, how have I? No, when we get upset, we're just upset.
we're not realizing that.
Yeah, can you imagine your wife's all upset that her sisters forgot her for something, and you go to her and you're saying, "Oh, this is all a reminder that you're nobody." You know, because why are you so upset? You're upset because who are you if they forgot about you? But the only reason we're really, so I'm saying something much deeper. The reason we're upset when our reputation or our sense of self has been somehow damaged, meaning someone's inflicted, is because it's not real to begin with. We're on a white-knuckled roller coaster ride. We're on a white-knuckled roller coaster ride, trying to survive. No one poking a hole. It's like we're all giant overinflated balloons, and the whole world's made of cactus.
What you're saying now, it does tie in the beginning, and it's probably what you're doing of like the Matrix idea is like, okay, the whole world isn't really real, and now you're saying is your ego isn't really real. Like you in this world, you know what I mean? Like going on like a deeper
the only thing real is the part that God scooped in before there was something. There was absolutely nothing. By the way, that nothing never went away. It's still there.
Right.
We're only a projection of that. It's projecting us from the nothing. But clearly it's a conscious being. Look around. I mean, it clearly has conscious ability.
So let's finish off.
I just want to say that one thing is that he took from his giant pot, like a big cholent pot, his stew pot. He took from his consciousness, because no animals have this, no fish, no birds. He took a ladle and he went to each person on the 40th day after conception. He just went. Of his consciousness. Think about it. There's no definition. Ego has lots of definition. This is my car, this is my wife, this is my house, this is my job, this is my finances. God has no definition. And think about it. Your conscious spiritual experience right now doesn't have any definition. It's not in a brain scan. It's not an MRI. It has no beginning, has no end. It's exactly that. So meaning it's exactly eternal. You're eternal. Yaakov, you're never dying.
Works out because Yaakov also, because
you're never going to die. When they finally pronounce you, I bless you till 120 in good health, and it shouldn't be sudden, surrounded by your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your great-grandkids, as you bless everybody and say Shema. Then some person in there will say, okay, he's brain dead now. And then you'll finally be free. And then you'll see. And you'll be like, whoa, I knew it. This is amazing. And obviously you'll do tshuva. So you don't have to go through any process going through it. You're going to go through clean, And that's a whole other podcast about souls and the afterlife and soul world and stuff.
Which happy to do.
But the bottom line is that the biggest thing in the way of your experience of your soul is this.
Is you.
Well, and your brain. And the second your brain's not trying to constantly
pull you into this world and make it make sense.
Well, yeah. And in other words, tinify everything. Like, how can I somehow get everything as manageable as possible? And this conversation has been one about expansion of self with courage and experience.
I love it. Okay. I know we could go on for so much longer, but I do want to mention, and I'm, my connection to you is, I saw you in Aish, and then you started talking about the Possible You seminar, and I'm like thinking should I do it? And I did it. I personally am very thankful. I did it more than 10 years ago, and it was incredible. It still is incredible. For anyone who's thinking of doing the Possible You or anything else that you're coming out with, why do you think it's important? Like someone listening, why does it apply to them?
It's really funny that First of all, people are scared to death of it. So let's just be honest.
Yes.
Anything you're saying why you're not coming is because you're afraid. Let's be straight to the point. You know, like some guy will say to me at the mikveh, he's like, yeah, I'd really like to come to your seminar. I'd really like to come to your seminar, but I can't afford it. I said, so for you, it's free.
Uh-oh.
He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, come for free, please. And he's like, you're kidding? I'm like, no, come for free. And then he's stuck now. And he's still not coming because he'll come up with something else. And I say, and then of course I'll get rid of that.
Right.
So, well, I don't want to see any with her. And I'm like, so you're a little worried about like social anxiety? He says, yeah. And I said, well, it will be awkward for about 45 minutes, but we're together for 4 nights. It's just off work hours, like 4 nights. So you're not willing to give up 45 minutes of discomfort for 4 nights of breaking out forever from that discomfort. Now you're going to spend the rest of your life worrying about, what everyone thinks about you instead of just 45 minutes discomfort. Anyway, the bottom line is it's fear.
And I want to say a part of it, like it is scary, and and you have to be honest, you have to be vulnerable, but
you don't have to share. Was anyone made to share?
No, it's not like
you can sit there like
you're
this.
not like I've been in experiences that like feel like a cult. It doesn't feel like a cult. You're not forced to do anything. You're not pressured. It's literally if you will go in, you could go in and be a stone wall and leave. It's you're giving the ability to be able to express and figure out whatever you have been going through, however you labeled yourself, and it is truly very liberating.
It's getting to experience and stop. I mean, think about it. If you're in bumper to bumper traffic on the Palisades Parkway, you see the deer, you see the grass, you see the Hudson, you see the cliffs, you see the giant eagles flying and stuff. Once you're going 30. The human brain's been set up to see a little less. And now everything on that side is science has proven they're predictive models. So you kind of see it, but you're not really seeing it. It's your brain creating the Hudson and stuff. And then but once you're going 60, now you got to start like, your safety is on the line. Once you're going 65, you're not seeing much. And that's why no one hears the music in a wedding. Because when you go into a social environment, you're going 65 miles per hour. Because of things that happened in your past when you were embarrassed or whatever. And so people aren't experiencing. People think they're experiencing their life, but the whole wedding you were at was all your brain creating predictive models while you survive. Some poor sucker's paying $80,000 for 500 people to survive their kid's wedding.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So, but I actually had a manal of one of the biggest schools in New York come into the seminar, crossed his arms, stared at me with these icy blue eyes for all 4 days. I set people up in chavrusas at one point just to talk to the guy next to you, just to talk out something. And not even necessarily so personal. And he refused. I'm not going to be speaking to anyone. He never said a thing. On his 3rd day of the seminar, he only spoke to us the 4th day at the end. But he said on the 3rd day, he went into his Talmud Torah, his school, gigantic school, thousands of kids. And he said the first kid was sent in, busted for whatever. He sat down and he sat across from him. And he says within 30 seconds, the kid was sobbing. He's like, in all my career, the kids are scared to death of me. This never happened. He gets his chair, puts it next to the kid, puts his arm around the kid. It turned out the kid's talking about the stuff going on at home, which also had never happened to him. This had nothing to do with it. He was only acting out in the classroom. And so he thought that was a little strange. About 45 minutes later, next kid sent in, same thing. Again. Comes back the 3rd night of the seminar, didn't say anything to anyone to see what was going to happen the 4th day. Goes back to the school. Same thing all day. Told us the 4th night, raises his hand at the very end. He says, I don't know what you're doing in here, but my vibration, and I didn't even speak about vibration because to really get into the matrix, you have to understand vibration. But like you're told us on the 1st day that we're all carrying vibration, which I got a phone call yesterday from a lady It was a man who graduated the seminar, and he says, "Can you speak to my wife? Because she needs to know if she has to honor her parents." And I'm like, "Of course she has to honor her parents." He says, No, let her speak. And she talks about how her mother abuses her. And I'm like, first question, did you do the possible use seminar? And she's like, no. Which to me is disrespectful, because if her husband did it, and her husband's a real strong graduate of mine, if her husband did it, like, come on. Like, why don't we share the same? She's like, oh, I know everything about it. I said, yeah, except you're still getting garbage. She says, no, you don't understand. She went out with my sisters and didn't call me. They did that. And now it's they. And then she tells me, she didn't realize she's doing it. Then she tells her father called that I have to call my mother every day, or at least once a week, or I forget what she said. I'm like, now they's growing. And I told her, we have a principle in the Possible You that if you're getting dumped on, if people are throwing garbage, you're the garbage can. It's your vibration. And we have a theme song in the seminar. The person of your dreams is coming into view. Nobody can take that dream away. Meaning all the people who used to dump have to go dump somewhere else. You're no longer a receiver of that garbage. I called this principle half a year later. I just want to call him, like, is it still working? He said, working. I removed my get desk from its spot. I've placed it against the window for when I do my work. I got a little round table, little chair, and I sit with them. Called him a year later. He says, it's a giant school. He shouldn't have been managing by himself. I hired 4 principals. I'm going to re-educate myself and open my own school.
Wow.
And that's what he does now.
Wow.
This is the guy who didn't share. And that's what people don't understand. You don't have to say anything in the seminar. You just keep it to yourself if you want.
If someone wants to apply to the Possible You, is the best place to find you?
Yeah, it's just thepossibleyou.org.
Okay.
Thepossibleyou.org is for email. And numbers you can put on the podcast.
We'll put in
no
the
one's
links,
going to write down
the links below. Yeah, we'll have all the ways to contact and find.
There's a funny thing, though, just I wanted to share with you, is that I ran this seminar. Originally, I created it with Rav Noach Weinberg. We did it together. We created this thing. And Aish HaTorah, satsang. And who was it for? It was for the students at Aish HaTorah. Who were the students? Well, those were the students who were the wave of Balei Tshuva between 1967 and then smartphones in 2007, when the wave then it just went to internet, people discovering Torah and internet, but that wave was huge. So who were these Balei Tshuva? What was the profile of most of them, meaning 90% of them? Wealthy homes, meaning very well-to-do. Crazy self-confidence. Think how much self-confidence you have to change your lifestyle. High IQ, because you got to understand what in the world we're saying. It's not simple, what we were saying in our Kiruv classes. High IQ. Almost all university educated, many of them Ivy League. And go check out the Balei Tshuva, and you'd have to get people my age and older and some younger. Go meet them, ask them where they went to school. Check out their confidence, the way they walk around shul. Who are these people? And I created it for not just healthy, normal people. The seminar is actually created to 10x somebody who's very successful. But what you get instead, except for obviously people who are serious about growth, but all the jokers, which is 90% of people walking around, Lakewood. No, I don't mean jokers like they're all jokers, but the jokers who say, I'm fine, man, I don't need no seminar. Those people are who it's for. It's for them. And the fact that they're doing so great and working, what's working is that you've figured out a personality, an ego personality that perfectly covers up all the boo-boos. But you're not experiencing life. You're going 65 in every business deal. You walk into a wedding at 65 somehow to survive it. It's made for them. Does it help people with real problems? Like people who are suffering? Yeah, for sure. For sure, it helps those people. Single people who weren't getting married, get married. Okay, people with marriage, we have almost no divorces. That's insane. We have 13,000 graduates. And you want to know what the divorces are? We have a couple divorces. A couple. Like I can count, of 13,000 graduates, I can count all the divorces of 13,000 people on 2 hands. And guess who they are? They are people who were in serious must-divorce situations, but never had the confidence to finally get out of an abusive situation. All 10. And it's not even 10. It's like 8.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Wow. It's amazing. Okay, I want to close up this conversation with, the Matrix convo. Like, what's a closing remark? Because I know, again, I said this already, but like there's 200 hours worth that we could have done. But like one, like...
A closing?
Yeah, closing to it.
Love your fellow neighbor from that place. The last words of love your fellow neighbor as yourself. Such an amazing line of the Torah. The word kamocha means like as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. It gets much deeper when you think about our little exchange we had earlier. Think about those words. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's like the kamikaze pilot in Pearl Harbor who was coming to crash his plane into an aircraft carrier to blow up the aircraft carrier. So the soldiers were running out of the way. They saw the kamikaze pilots coming in. And the kamikaze pilot, when he was just about to hit, he saw one soldier just froze. They're all running, so they weren't going to get hit, but one soldier was going to get hit. He froze, and he just looked up and he realized he's dead. He looked up, and the pilot saw his eyes and realized it's him. And he pulled his plane up, like literally almost scraped the aircraft carrier. He flew back to wherever their aircraft carrier was, or I doubt they can make it to Japan from Pearl Harbor, but maybe they could. He flew back and he became a holy man and a teacher for the rest of his life, which is what I did. Even as an atheist, war protester, progressive liberal, when I was protesting that war, what I was really saying is, hey, we're all one. This is one thing here. And just to go, I got to just give it a little knitch with possibly you, is that only in as much as you love yourself can you love your neighbor. Meaning it's not just a command to love him as you would love yourself. No, it's giving you a big secret about personal growth. To the extent that you love yourself is the extent you can love someone else. And let me just tell you the mechanics of that. If I only love myself, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say I give it a 6, yeah? That means there's 4 that the word would be hate, basically. Meeting you or being married to you or whatever is a constant 40% chance of being exposed. So ad con, like only this much can I love you, a 6. Now, if I love myself a 7, I can love you a 7 because I'm safe to a 7. 30% is like, whoa, I'm not going to trust you too much. I'm going to stay guarded on that 30%. It's such a brilliant line that only in as much as you love yourself can you love another person. And until you love another person, you start to realize, meaning if you're really low, like a 5, 4, 3, 2, all your relationships are just usury. You're just using people you call this sibling when you're feeling good. You call this sibling when you're feeling bad. You call your mother when you're like this. You call your father like you're just using everybody. Like you don't even have love. You're just surviving with those relationships. And this is like, whoa, like this is the power of the possibility work, is to just finally put up a white flag of surrender to how awesome you are and how you are love and you are worthy of love. And that's it. And just to close, the last words of Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You know what the end of the sentence is? Ani Hashem. Right back to the beginning of our podcast. Ani Hashem, there is nothing else. And the consciousness you have that got covered up by ego and cars and sweaters and how people treat you and your hairdo and all that stuff's just covering up the ladle of consciousness of the eternal soul. Ani Hashem. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem. Love your neighbor as yourself. I'm God. Shining straight through you, shining into you with the craft beer, with the music, with the smoothie, with the view of those Alps or the Atlantic Ocean and the sand on the beach and in the forest. You know, when I hear wind in the forest, it's a wind instrument playing through the trees. You can't hear wind. And trees don't make sound. Yes, they do, when God plays through them.
Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser, thank you very much.
Welcome. It's a real pleasure to be together. And please, God, we'll take this energy into our day and keep going with it. And there's endlessly more. I mean, there's like,
I know.
We're covering, this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, this is the start of it.
Tremendous subjects to cover.
Oh, man.
But really a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, one of our most meta conversations to date. If you got this far, please tell us on YouTube the word deep. Share what you learned from this conversation. There's got to be something in there. I literally have goosebumps. I have a lot to think about. And if you haven't realized yet, I attended the Possible You seminar almost 10 years ago and loved my experience. It was incredible. It gave me tools to grow, find clarity, and honestly live a better life. If you're ready for transformation, you can check them out at thepossibleyou.org. They did not pay me to say this. They didn't pay me to do this episode. I did it because I love it, love Rabbi Yom Tov, and there's so much depth in this conversation. Be sure to support our friends at Bitbean. You'll get the best custom software you can't even imagine, hiring for less, recruiting staff that do amazing work for an amazing price. Twillory, the go-to for fall clothing, also summer, spring, and winter. Touro, this may be one of the biggest steps you take in life, so check them out. Check out the college. Of course, we have links for everything I just mentioned down below. If you like content like this, also softer, lighter stuff that are inspiring interviews and kosher money and mental health, please subscribe to the channel or this podcast so you can be the first to see our conversations. In life, we often feel trapped by our limitations, whether it's the expectations of others, our own fears, or the pressures of the world around us. But if you step back and realize that everything we experience is part of Hashem's greater plan, we begin to see that our true power lies in our free will. We're not defined by our ego or circumstances, but by how we align with the divine purpose. The more we let go of false identities, embrace our true selves, the more we can live fully and love deeply. Maybe next time we'll dive into how to unlock ourselves and truly break free. Remember, there's inspiration everywhere. L'chaim. Living L'chaim.